Audiobooks for Everyone presents The Man Who Would Be King by Rudyard Kipling. Full book summary. It all began on a hot, dusty day in colonial India, where the British Empire cast a long and sometimes strange shadow over the land. The narrator, a journalist for the Northern India Times, had grown accustomed to the oddities of empire, but nothing prepared him for the tale he would one day hear from a broken, sun-scorched man who stumbled into his office, mumbling half-sane words of kingship and doom. Years before, the narrator had met two unforgettable characters on a train, Dravot and Peachey Carnehan, two bold and eccentric adventurers with wild dreams in their eyes. They were ex-soldiers, vagabonds, and idealists who believed that fortune favored the fearless. Over cigars and whiskey, they revealed their grand plan to leave British India behind and journey to a far-off, forgotten land called Kafiristan, hidden beyond the mountains of Afghanistan. There, they intended to become kings, to conquer and rule a native people as if they were gods descended from the heavens. The narrator, amused and skeptical, dismissed them as madmen. But Dravot and Carnehan were deadly serious. They had studied maps, prepared rifles, and drawn up a contract with one another, promising no drink, no women, and no betrayal until their kingdom was founded. They would go as military advisors, earn the people's trust, and then seize control by force and strategy. And so they went. For months there was no word, until one day, years later, Peachey Carnehan returned, aged beyond recognition, his mind frayed, and his body nearly destroyed. What he told the narrator was a story almost too incredible to believe. The journey to Kafiristan had been harsh and perilous. They crossed dangerous mountain passes, braved blizzards, and dodged tribesmen suspicious of all outsiders. Eventually, they reached isolated villages where the people were awed by their guns and military knowledge. With a few carefully staged battles, Dravot and Carnehan helped warring tribes unite and declared themselves rulers, gods among men. The locals, who had not seen outsiders in centuries, were convinced these white-skinned strangers were divine. Dravot, the more charismatic and ambitious of the two, declared himself king. He wore a crown, sat on a throne, and demanded tribute. The people obeyed, believing he was the son of Alexander the Great, returning to reclaim his ancient empire. Their faith was sealed when the local priests discovered a Masonic symbol Dravot wore, a relic from his days as a Freemason. To their astonishment, it matched symbols from their own ancient legends. Dravot embraced the myth, weaving himself deeper into their culture. For a while, all went according to their plan. They had wealth, power, and worship. Dravot dreamed of building roads, schools, and an empire that would rival Rome. Carnehan, more cautious, warned against going too far. Their pact had been simple: rule like kings, not like gods. But power had changed Dravot. He wanted a native queen, a wife to bear his heirs, to cement his bloodline. Carnehan protested. Their contract forbade such things: no women, no emotional entanglements. But Dravot was no longer bound by promises made as mere mortals. He insisted on marriage. The locals, however, believed their god-king was divine and immortal. When the chosen bride, terrified of marrying a god, bit Dravot in panic and drew blood, the illusion shattered. Gods do not bleed. Realizing the terrible truth, the people rose up in fury. The priests denounced Dravot as a fraud. His own soldiers turned against him. Dravot and Carnehan tried to escape, but it was too late. The mountain kingdom that had worshipped them now wanted their blood. Dravot was captured, mocked, and forced to walk to his death across a rope bridge stretched high above a ravine. Before he was pushed, he sang a song, "The Son of God goes forth to war," and met his end with a mad kind of grace. They cut the ropes and sent their false god plummeting to the rocks below. Carnehan was tortured and crucified on a wooden tree, left to die in the blazing sun. But the wood split, and he fell free. Staggering and broken, he wandered through the mountains until he somehow made it back to India, clutching a relic of his lost kingdom, a human head, preserved in a bag. It was Dravot's, still crowned in gold. The narrator, shaken by the story, gave Carnehan shelter and listened with growing horror. When he opened the bag and saw the withered head with its mocking smile and golden crown, he knew the tale was no madman's dream. The next day, Carnehan was gone. Found wandering the streets, raving about kingship and betrayal, he was taken to an asylum. Days later, he died, his mind finally broken by the weight of his experience. As for the narrator, he never saw the head again. The crown, the jewels, the evidence, it vanished with Carnehan. But the story lived on. The tale of two men who dared to play gods in a forgotten land, only to be undone by the very myth they created, remained seared into his memory forever. This tale, steeped in irony and ambition, captures the spirit of empire, madness, and the fragile line between glory and ruin. In The Man Who Would Be King, Kipling offers a timeless reflection on the price of hubris and the haunting power of dreams that soar too high. The end.